would like to say welcome all participants and speakers. My name is Hasan Aksoy. I'm working in Shura Energy Transition Center. Today I have a chance to moderate this nice session, and I'm so excited to discuss battery energy storage technologies in terms of regulations, costs, implementations, as well as the barriers. So we have important panelists. They have extensive experience both renewable energy and battery energy storage systems. So before starting nice discussions, I would like to introduce our speakers briefly. So our first panelist, Mr. Faik Tursun, is experienced electrical engineer graduated from Middle East Technical University with a demonstrated history of working in Turkish electricity market as a consultant. During his career, he has worked for various clients, including government agencies, renewable energy developers, DSOs, international financial institutes in Turkey and surrounding market. Prior to joining DNVGL, Mr. Faik worked in Aselsan as a test engineer for handheld radios and TÜBİTAK for solar-related studies as a researcher. Mr. Faik Tursun is currently working as a team leader of energy advisor at DNVGL. Welcome, Mr. Faik. Our second speaker, Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu, graduated industrial engineering from Technical University Berlin and holds MBA degree from Columbia University. He is co-founder of Belektrik Kuloğlu Gas Teknoloji AŞ and Klimagi Kuloğlu Gas Yatırımlar AŞ. Created a joint business model includes project development and investment in solar power plants together with two Turkish groups and Fortum and SunPower. One project development, which is 77 megawatt installed capacity, was awarded in the first licensing round. Due to the acquisition of Belektrik by Innogy, it was renamed as Opron Kuloğlu Gas Akü Teknoloji AŞ. Currently, Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu is Chairman and Managing Director of Opron Kuloğlu Gas Akü Teknoloji AŞ. Welcome, Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu.
Thank you, Hasan.
Our last panelist, Associate Professor Dr. Muhsin Mazman, graduated Department of Chemistry from Çukurova University, and he was research assistant during his Master of Science and PhD degrees, focusing on thermal energy storage systems. He worked in TÜBİTAK Energy Institute Battery Group until 2014, focusing on lithium batteries and other electromechanical battery technologies. Between 2014 and 2019, he worked in Mutlu Akü as new technologies manager, taking active roles on lead-acid and lithium program. Currently, Mr. Mazman is working as a director of energy storage division at Dynamic. Welcome, Mr. Mazman.
Oh, thanks.
I'd like to start with Mr. Faik Tursun. As you know, I'd like to start talking a little bit global development of battery storage firstly. I want to ask you, what is the current status of battery energy storage development globally, taking into account risk scale, behind the meter, and off-grid applications? As we know, many countries try to implement incentives and market-based regulations to unlock development, battery storage development. What kind of incentives and market-based regulations are being implemented by the countries in the world? Floor is yours, Mr. Faik.
Thank you, Hasan. Let me start with the development. Actually, when we look at the development of battery energy systems, we see that the pattern is very similar to solar PV installations in means of cost reduction and also the deployment. To present this in more detail, maybe I can provide some figures that is prepared by Wood Mackenzie in former times. To this study, in 2017, there were only 6 gigawatt hours installed battery energy storage systems, but when we come to 2018, we see that this number is increased to 12.5 gigawatt hours, almost double. In 2019, this number is increased to 18 gigawatt hours, which is containing a good margin as well. It is not double, but it is continuing to, how to say, the installations are ongoing. And according to this study, they made a projection as well for the 2025, and they are expecting that the installed base for battery energy storage systems will be 231 gigawatt hours, which is 13 times of the base of 2019. When we look at these figures, we see that the deployment in a fast pace for the world. However, it is not easy to provide a breakdown for the behind the meter, front of the meter, and also the off-grid applications because of not having a common data room for these kind of installations in the world. However, it could be told that most of the installations are composed of residential applications, which is behind the meter, and also the commercial and industrial applications, which is again behind the meter applications. When it comes to countries, we see that USA, China, South Korea, Japan, Australia, Germany, France are the forefront of the battery energy storage system installations. And there are some common characteristics of these countries, like electricity price is high, the economies are well developed. For some of them, geographies are big, but for some of them, they are isolated, not having a well interconnection system with the other transmission system operators. And the other common factor for these countries is the share of renewables in the energy mix is high. When it comes to incentives, actually in the world, we are not seeing that there are a lot of incentives provided for the battery energy storage systems, but I can, there are some, I can provide some examples for them. For example, in France, there is no direct incentives provided for battery energy systems. However, there are good incentives defined by the government for the residential PV applications, like 10 years feed-in tariff, compensating some of the first capex investment, exemption of tax and network fee. By making use of these incentives, customers are encouraged to couple their system with the battery energy storage system, and now we see more installations coupled with the battery energy storage system. When it comes to Germany, we see that Germany is the market leader in Europe for residential, commercial, and industrial, and also the front of the meter applications. But these are due to soft factors, like energy price is very high in Germany, and there are some soft factors like the behavior of the customers, willingness to be independent, and also being sustainable. There are other indirect incentives by the banks. They are providing some loans which are low interest. These are also promoting the battery energy storage systems. In USA, they introduced the investment tax credit, which is allowing investors which are coupling the solar PV plus batteries, 26% of the first installation cost is remunerated by the government. When we look at the regulations, actually still European countries are trying to solve the fundamental issues like removing the double charging, meaning that, you know, while charging and discharging, they do not have to be, investors should not have to be subjected to network fees. They are trying to create a technology neutrality. They are trying to create some funds so that these investments can take place. And they want to prepare some good, clear, and transparent targets for this. And when it comes to regulations and how these are bought, actually governments are seeking projects and contracting these projects in two different ways. One is storage, the other one is storage plus renewables. To give some examples for this, actually UK and Italy, they are planning to auction or tender some ancillary services support during the coming years. I know that Spain and Portugal, they are planning to couple the solar PV with the storage in order to shift the energy. In China, actually there is no regulation still, but they want to couple the wind with the storage system so that the loss coming from the curtailment will be less. In addition to this, I know that towards the end of 2020 in Israel, there were an auction performed, which is storage, and some capacities are already distributed. I think I have answered your question.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Faik Bey. This is very helpful to understand what is happening in the world. As far as I understand, many countries try to implement different regulations and incentives to increase battery storage developments. So I would like to turn Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu here. So as you know, Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu, higher integration of variable renewable energy requires significant flexibility and power management services for all functions into energy system, including transmission, distribution, and generation level. I'd like to learn what is the importance of battery energy storage systems in energy transition and renewable energy integration, especially wind and solar. And also, I would like to ask you, in order to get benefit from these systems, well, do we need to change our renewable energy auction design, I mean YECA, such as collocation of renewable energy production facilities with energy storage assets in Turkey? Floor is yours, Mr. Cenap.
Thank you, Hassan. Also, thank you for the distinguished panelists. And above all, thank you to Emine. I mean, even in these pandemic times, you know, for organizing such an excellent event with a huge of participants. Now, in terms of the importance of energy storage systems in energy transition and renewable energy system integration, I mean, the keywords are the energy storage systems enable the primary containment reserve and frequency containment reserve, and next to virtual inertia. But before I start, you know, I mean, the whole thing comes, we all would like to fight climate change, and energy transition with net zero emissions is at full steam underway in the world. Now, actually, the total objective is to flip the current diagram of base load and coverage of peak demand. Now, solar and wind power, you know, with extremely low prices, together with hydro, we have a lot of hydro, as you know. Actually, this inflates a little bit our renewable energy, you know, numbers, should become the future base load. And energy storage systems, and at a certain extent, we don't have it, gas power plants should cover the peak demand. And one thing is for sure, the existing thermal power plants should be phased out. And we had a lot of discussion, you know, clean air, etc. And new ones should not be built at all, because there is no scientific and economical evidence that any coal power plant is economical and scientifically justified. Now, coming back to our primary frequency control and virtual inertia. I mean, DESS energy storage systems are, as a fact, more economical than the must-run capacities of thermal power plants. That's the reason why I say they should be phased out. Now, the inertia in power systems has been traditionally determined by considering all the rotating masses directly connected to the grid. Thus, as the penetration of renewable units increases, the inertia of the power system decreases due to the reduction and directly connected rotating machines. Now, as a consequence, power systems require a new set of strategies to include these renewable sources. As Faik said, you know, where the renewable uses is high, there is lots of energy storage. Now, in fact, hidden inertia or synthetic inertia or virtual inertia are terms currently used to represent an artificial inertia created mainly actually by inverter control strategies of such renewable sources. Now, the primary frequency control or primary reserves, consist of the injection or withdrawal of power in case of frequency deviation. And this service is key to ensure the stability of the electric system, to your question, Hassan. As in most countries, the transmission system operator, in our case, TİAEŞ, is responsible for ensuring that there is sufficient amount of reserve available at any time. In Turkey, the specifications of the primary frequency control are close to the ones, actually, like the frequency containment reserve in the continental Europe. They activate immediately when there is any frequency deviation, then full activation within 30 seconds, and a full activation when frequency deviation is plus minus 200 millihertz, around the 50 hertz level. Now, in terms of the benefits of batteries for system stability and power system flexibility, now the ESSs enable high frequency stability through fast frequency control and virtual inertia, just to summarize it. High penetration rate of renewables possible through virtual inertia from batteries, which replace the missing from the shutdown of thermal power plants. And very important, decentralized power supply is possible in order to prevent system split. For example, in Germany, currently in southern Germany, there is a new, it's in the building phase, new 1 giga grid booster. As you know, northern Germany produces a lot of wind, and this should be transmitted to the southern Germany, but anything happens in the transmission lines, then this grid booster of 1 giga will take the control. Now, to your last question, do we need new renewable energy system auction design, such as I'm looking also to my watch, how many minutes do I have? Auction design, such as the co-location of renewable energy production facilities with energy storage assets in Turkey? Yes, absolutely. Actually, we are late. I'm not very optimistic at our current stage, I have to say, because we have to compare ourselves with world's best benchmarks. Co-location, very important. Co-location of batteries make up the batteries up to 40% cheaper. Now, can you imagine? I mean, if you go from Faik maybe or Muhsin, it's 400,000 euro, 1 mega capex, right? 40% cheaper. We are there 250,000 euros for 1 mega, which is great. And with all the advantages, Faik mentioned it, peak shaving, security of supply, overload prevention, possibility of energy trading at peak times for a much lower cost for the Turkish economy. Okay. Now, we had this in the past. In February 2018, this energy minister at that time said, okay, we will do it with roughly 100 mega battery capacity. As I remember, I think, Faik, you can confirm it, the DNV-GL consultants were doing the technical specifications of the storage system. Okay, you worked a little bit on that, but it didn't happen. And this is our problem: predictability, clarity, what is happening, what is coming to happen. Now, if we look to other countries, I mean, it is now coincidence. We are in this pandemic time, and there is a vaccine champion, Israel. I mean, Faik mentioned it a little bit, but let me give some more info to that one example with co-location.
Yes.
I mean, Israel doesn't have gas, right? Now they are pushing to build PV power plants with batteries to provide electricity after the sun goes down. And last autumn, Israel's electrical authority awarded 600 mega, and they said PV capacity, they said for every 1 mega, 4 hours energy storage, and the price is 5.4 US dollar cents per kilowatt hour. I mean, as you remember, now we have a little bit too low exchange price now. But, you know, if we take now, you know, a little bit time period away and look to the remainder 3 years in Turkey, we had around 4 to 4.5 US dollar cents at the market exchange. Now, this is including battery 5.4. Of course, in Israel, there is a little bit more sun. But what I'm saying is, you know, and the investors got a contract with Public Utility Authority lasting more than 20 years. Again, with predictability, you know, looking into the future. Now, I will come back to this important issue, lack of predictability, clarity, and at a certain extent to this product protectionism, which, you know, regarding PV and now also inverter, and I hope not regarding energy storage at the end of the round 2, if we have some time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cenap Kuloğlu. This is very helpful to understand the importance of battery storage technologies for the energy transition. And also, if I understand correctly, you are saying that the collocation of renewable energy system with the battery energy storage will be so important and the center of the energy transition.
Absolutely.
And I would like to turn Mr. Muhsin Mazman. As you know, Mr. Mazman, a draft energy storage regulation was published this week. During this week, I have also a chance to read carefully. I would like to ask you, what is the status of battery energy storage systems in Turkey in terms of regulation and implementation? Investor side, is there any chance to create business models, both grid scale and behind the meter implementations? So, what is your expectations? Floor is yours. Sesiniz, your voice is on.
Okay, sorry. Thanks, Hasan. Firstly, thanks to EEL for this perfect event and to the other attendees, and they share their quite a clear explanation about the why we need the energy storage with a grid and the renewable and to activate it. Firstly, in Turkey, we are at the beginning of the energy storage market, and so for the point of investment, your last question. This means that we have a huge potential for the investment and for the market. Now we are discussing to find a way to realize this big opportunity in the energy storage market, because you know, in Turkey we have a wind and solar system up to 16 gigawatt, and also the other grid, our grid more than 90, and so we have a capacity for the energy storage, for the smoothing the renewable energy, for the frequency control, for the ancillary services, and also for the trading on the energy, and also for the self-consumption. So this means that on the implementation, all that area has a potential in Turkey. But from the regulation up to now, we haven't any clear regulation, and also Cenap Bey mentioned on that the predictability is quite important, and without any regulation, and especially the stability on the cost of the energy storage, you couldn't calculate the rest of investment and the feasibility study. So to clarify all that, we should clarify our regulation. This week, the regulation as a draft announced and open to discussion. All the side of the country and also the other investors will give their comments on that, and I hope we will do some things. Today, I'm thinking that this is the kickoff point for us. We are at the kickoff point and we just start. So if we are at the kickoff point, this means that we can set a real business model to improve this energy storage system, to integrate to the systems. And for that also, as Janab Bey mentioned, the predictability and to a clear and understandable model is important. Up to now, the draft of the regulations say that for the the production side, in all type production, they couldn't give permission to use the YEGDAM mechanism. This means that no incentives on that. By this way, without YEGDAM, I think it's quite hard to make an investment and to find a feasible point in the production side. Secondly, for the consumption, also for the consumption, the regulation, by this way, this is a draft and we will give a comment on that. Also, without any tariffs and the mechanism and without the price, identification on the price and the cost, by this way, not a clear and predictable model for us. We need to clarify this also. On the ancillary services, maybe you can find a chance to find a business model, because it gives a chance to make a trading, energy trading by this regulation. This is good for us. And for me, if you want to make increase the investment, you should give incentives in this stage. This is as also Faik Bey say that this is like the pattern of the PV at the beginning point, and start in a high price and decrease day by day, more sometimes double each year. And also the energy storage systems, the cost decreasing day by day, and also by wide usage, it can be increased, this decreasing of the cost. So we have a dilemma here. We need a mass scale implementation to decrease the cost, but without incentives, we couldn't decrease the cost. By decreasing the cost, we can go to the mass scale. So we should solve the dilemma for that. But we are in the good point in Turkey. Briefly, up to now we hadn't regulation, but now as a draft we have a regulation, and we can discuss on that, and we can give our comment. And if we put some incentives on that and put some business model, I think we will have a big opportunity in Turkey for the this energy storage investment, and also the capacity. Even a 10% of the installed capacity is stored for the renewable, for example. This means that we have a like a 1.52 gigawatt energy storage installing capacity in the near future, if you find the way to install it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Muhsin Bazman. This is very helpful. I think draft regulation is a good starting point for deployment of battery energy storage system in Turkey. So yeah, we will discuss on it, of course, later. I would like to turn with Mr. Faik Tursun. As you know, Mr. Tursun, distributed generation coupled with the behind the meter provides many benefits to power system and consumer itself. But we know the cost of these systems is still higher than grid parity in Turkey, as far as I know. What is the status of behind the meter in Turkey? What kind of regulation do we need to support these systems together? The floor is yours.
Thank you again, Hasan Bey. Actually, as Mr. Muhsin pointed, there is not much progress in Turkey for the battery energy storage system as whole. It's still valid for the behind the meter applications as well. Up to now, we see only some off-grid applications and some R&D projects that are funded by Energy Market Regulatory Authority, and distribution companies are, how to say, trying to investigate further and further the benefits of the battery energy storage systems. In that content, I know that there is a project ongoing, KEDEP. 5 distribution companies are already in that, and each distribution companies, in average, install 500 kilowatt hours, 500 kilowatt hours system. I know some of the other DSOs with their big holdings, they are also installing and trying to investigate further the battery energy storage system benefits for the behind the meter applications. When it comes to Turkey, actually, for the behind the meter applications, in means of the regulation, the other speakers already mentioned, on 25th of January, EMRA published a draft regulation. And according to this regulation, we can divide the behind the meter application into 2. One is consumer and the other one is prosumer. For the consumer part, there is a statement in the draft regulation. It is saying that the excess generation due to the coupled battery energy storage system that will be fed to the grid will not be compensated. Actually, this is a limiting factor. However, still there can be some positive business cases just to combine with the consumption with the batteries, because we know that in Turkey, time of use tariff is valid and it is used widely. If a customer using time of use tariff and this customer is also categorized under commercial or industrial, then they can couple their consumption with the battery energy storage system so that they can charge the batteries during the night period, which is 40 cent Turkish lira. And instead of buying during the peak times from the grid, they can discharge, which is more than 110 Turkish lira cent. If you look at this, the per kilowatt hour price can be around 9 USD cents, which is very good actually, if you consider all these marginal price and other things. When it comes to prosumers, actually in Turkey, due to the regulation changes, we have 2 different categories. Again, there are some power plants, unlicensed power plants. These are making use of the feed-in tariffs. And after 2013, these are started to be installed by the investors. And 10 years feed-in tariff is defined for them. And it will not make any sense for those power plants to couple their system with the battery energy storage system, because they have feed-in warranty. They will be always in, and also they will be paid with the USD-based custom price. So it will not make any sense for them to introduce or couple the battery energy storage system for now. However, after 10 years, the ones that completes the feed-in tariff, maybe it can make sense. This should be investigated and feasibility study be done. However, in recent regulations, I saw that these unlicensed feed-in tariff power plants will be turned into licensed ones, and so that they can perform some trades in the wholesale market. However, they will be taking 15% less than the price itself. Maybe for that period, government can say this as an incentive. Instead of decreasing 15% for the ones that will combine their system with the storage system, I will not discount this amount. And in this way, they can create an incentive and batteries can be coupled. For the prosumer, there is another category, which is self-consumption thing. This is introduced in the last 2 years in Turkey. For the commercial and industrial tariff users, they can install solar PVs to their rooftops. And instead of buying electricity from grid, they can use the generated electricity from the... For that one, our government introduced the monthly net metering, which is using grid itself as a battery, because they can store it in grid and then they can retail. This is very good for boosting the renewables in Turkey. And last year we saw that more than 600 megawatts installed already by making use of this. However, it has a bottleneck for the battery energy storage system because according to presidential decree, for each kilowatt hours that will be fed to the grid, you will be paid by the single time tariff, which means that there will be no profit shifting the generated electricity within the time. Actually,
sorry, if we can wrap up quickly because we have time is limited. So
okay.
If you can...
Okay, actually, to sum up, there are some benefits for customers, soft benefits like being independent, sustainable, and also the not affected from the grid outages. There are some benefits for the grid operators like decreasing the technical losses, postponing the investments or canceling the investments. And also if they require some support, they take this support from the behind the meter applications. These are the main benefits. When it comes to how to open the way for the behind the meter applications, I think Turkey should implement a net billing system in combination with a well-functioning time of use tariff. If these two will be bring together, then there will be a lot of positive business cases for Turkey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very helpful, Faik Bey. I think especially behind the meter battery storage systems will be important business model for Turkey in the near future, as far as I can imagine. I would like to turn Mr. Janap Kuloğlu. Time is quite limited, so I'd like to ask a direct question. What kind of regulation do we need to accelerate battery storage development in Turkey? You know, some countries start to define battery storage as an entity separate from transmission, distribution, generation, or load. So, and also European Clean Energy Package defined storage as an entity separate from transmission, load, generation, preventing double taxation when charging and discharging. So, do it to allow batteries enter the market, such as ancillary service, capacity market, providing flexibility to the system. What do you think? Sorry,
Thank you, Hasan, again. Now, in terms of, this European Clean Energy Package, I mean, the principles there, this is a prerequisite for participation of batteries in the energy market. Otherwise, energy trading will not work. So I would say we have also to comply with that. Now, what kind of regulation do we need to accelerate battery storage development in Turkey? My colleagues also mentioned that. I mean, we need a market for primary frequency and secondary frequency control. But I would say there, then without an intervention by the state-owned energy generators with dumping prices. So we need a real market there. Otherwise, it will not function. And as we said before, no grid charges or any other taxes on energy while trading. And we need a market for power system stability services for virtual inertia or black start, reactive power support. There should be a market there. And finally, we mentioned that in the case of Israel, there should be a financial incentive for the combined PV battery generation systems. And in Germany, they are called the innovation tenders. I mean, I know Faik made a good point with at the end of this unlicensed period, one can couple there. Maybe one can even start before. Okay, we shouldn't wait so long. Huh? I mean, if we stay decent, okay, and fair, then we can start earlier. Because look, I mean, Germany has a solar goal, 2030, 100 giga, 10 times 10. Okay, they come from 50, now they go to 100. And when they talk 100, I think we will be talking of 10. That doesn't make sense, okay? Not at these prices. I mean, in the first licensing round, there was the capacity 600, and 15 times more demand was there, 9,000. And the argument 600, because the systems are too expensive, but the market participants know it better whether the systems are too expensive, okay? So the same is true here also with energy storage. And with this coupling in Germany, out of these, additional 50 giga, they start with 2.5 giga every year, and towards the end, they will scale it up to 100. They say out of the 2.5 giga every year, 800 mega is energy storage. Now, 2021, okay? I mean, now, huh? And also possibly the capacity market, okay? Now, I would like, now at the end of my round two, maybe just few sentences to, recently Ian Bremmer, he's the founder and president of EuroAsia Group. It's a strategic consultant, geostrategic consultancy, and also he's a columnist of the Time magazine. He used a quote from another person, I don't remember the name, but the quote is, politics needs more science, and science needs less politics. Now, we need, as a country, we need a science-based overall energy transition strategy with milestone checks. Actually, on the first day, Mr. Selahattin Hakman suggested this, the chairman of steering committee of the Shura suggested this. So we have to move in that way, otherwise we lose, okay? We don't know the target. Now, we have to speed up our efforts. As of today, our solar capacities are much too low. I mean, we say, 6 giga, but if you look per person, which the think tank group, Solar 3GV, excellent people, excellent guys there who are working for every year 3 giga, they found out we are at the least. We are in Europe the least one, okay? This is tragic, okay? And energy storage is another area of high development deficit. I mean, there is already systems in Germany. I said the grid booster is in pipeline, but there are already 500 mega there. Huh? In the UK, we have 1,200 mega. I mean, why are we waiting? Huh? I mean, Israel did 2.4 gigawatt hours. Now, therefore, I think the whole thing with this clarity, predictability is very important, and also this product protectionism. Okay, we have it in PV. Fine, if we have a factory of 1 giga, this is great. But we need every year 5 giga. What do we do then? Not only 3. And now our last sentence, in fact, I mean, our Turkey, unfortunately, our domestic savings is not enough to fight the unemployment of young engineers and youth. So what should we do? I mean, we have to follow the liberal economic principles and allow this predictability, clarity, and also, of course, rule of law principle. Now, I'm optimistic. Now, in this energy storage, I work with my partners, from Germany, Tim Müller. He is the Chief Technology Officer of Adensis. And also, there is a very fine boutique company called Clean Horizon. I work with Corentin Bashet there, okay, in the issues of energy storage. So we are ready to help.
Janap Bey, sorry I interrupt you.
Yeah, but I'm ready.
We have so limited time, so I would like to turn Muslim Azman. I think we should also talk a little bit cost perspective. I'm wondering, what is the cost developments of batteries globally, taking into account their different applications, especially we can talk lithium ions. And as you know, Turkey plans to introduce its locally manufactured EVs in 2023, as well as lithium-ion battery manufacturing. So, can we create a synergy between electric vehicles sector and power system? So, floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Hassan. Briefly, because we have quite limited time, but I think Cenab Bey summarized all our situation. I'm saying that more science and less politics. Today, for me, to summarize, today, we need more and more science and less politics to increase this one. Firstly, we need technically proven systems, and for that we need science. And the less politics. This means that predictability, clarify, and no anti-dumping and others, and also no strict regulation. For the cost, I'm saying that the cell cost and the battery pack cost, we have a two cost issue here. One is on the cell. I'm saying that for the cost, to decrease the cost, we need increase the mass scale production. Today, the electric vehicle supply us this mass scale production. Around the world, we have two type of technology. Mostly the lithium-ion today dominate the market. Because of that, I'm talking only on the lithium-ion only. Lithium-ion has a two technology, NMC and LFP. NMC today for the automotive companies, the kilowatt-hour cost decrease up to 110, 120 maximum. Dollar per kilowatt-hour. This is a quite good price for the LFP. Also, in grid scale application, we are using mostly LFP, and the LFP currently, for example, in BYD for the automotive, they offer $85 per kilowatt hour. This is the lowest price, and also from CATL like $100 per kilowatt hour. But this is for the automotive grade and €1 billion proposal, and it means that for grid scale application today, still around $350 per kilowatt hour for total system is still on the market. So when the electric vehicle will increase by this rate, this means that in the near future, even in the grid scale application for the renewable, all the energy storage system will decrease as the effect of the electric vehicle, and also the second life of the battery usage will decrease this application for the second life. So the EV will help us for increase the penetrate this market. I think we haven't enough time to discuss for the EV in Turkey, but also in Turkey we have some lithium-ion production target, but no real investment up to now. The Turkish EV car maker can help us also. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much for the nice discussions. I want special thanks to our guests as well. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. I would like to say, see you later.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.